Belinda from Simple Goodness Sisters, and I'm gonna make some punch for you today. We're gonna talk about how to make your punch bowl delicious, last through a whole party, and most importantly, not taste like the kind that your grandma used to make back in the day. So we're gonna start out doing the spiced apple punch as an example. It's on your punch card that you received in your box, and this is a really good one to show kind of like the different concepts of the punch. So the best thing about punch is it's very easy. The most complicated thing about punch is you want to make really pretty ice, right? That's like a huge part of it. So I've done my ice here in a bundt pan. It gives it this cool kind of texture. I'm just gonna pick it up because no one's drinking this, it's just for a video. So I've got this great texture on my ice and some pretty cinnamon sticks and oranges that are frozen in there. And as it begins to melt into the punch over the course of the evening, more of those will be exposed and it'll be really pretty. Another way you can do punch is, this is kind of looks like your grandma's punch. It's a very old-fashioned punch bowl because I collect milk glass, but you can also do punch as a large batch beverage in all kinds of dispensers. So you don't need to think about it just being a punch bowl. You can serve it in a beverage dispenser with a spigot, or you can serve it even by the pitcher in something like this. And to do that, you're gonna want a different shape for your ice. So my number one thing when you're making ice is to measure your ice container ahead of time and make sure it's actually going to fit into your serving container. So I have definitely spent a lot of time making really pretty ice in things like old yogurt containers, and then the width of it is too big for my beverage dispenser. You don't want to waste your time doing that, so make sure you test it out first. Obviously this one was close, but we got it right on. And then another big thing that we talk about on that punch ice card is to use distilled water. That's been boiled so all of its impurities are out, and it's gonna make it so you have less clouds in your ice. Now, if you wanna get technical, there's a lot of ways to make perfectly cloudless, clear ice, and it's in the way that you freeze it. So you're probably not gonna achieve that in your home freezer, but distilled ice is gonna give you a lot of clarity and therefore show off all of your pretty ingredients better. So, now that you've made your pretty ice and you've got your ice in your bowl, you're just gonna start mixing up your punch. And this is a great do-ahead thing. You can mix up your punch in the punch bowl and chill it in the fridge before the party and add the ice last second. So I'm gonna start out by adding my least expensive ingredient that doesn't have bubbles. You always add anything with bubbles last so that they don't go flat. So my least expensive ingredient in this case is gonna be lemon juice. I'm gonna add 1 cup of lemon juice. It's gonna be fresh squeezed. Try to just, go against the temptation of using the stuff in the bottle. It's not going to be as good. It will make a big difference in the taste of your punch. Next, I'm gonna do a cup of orange juice. So 1 cup of orange juice added right to the punch bowl as well. And I'm gonna use my syrup next. I've got a 1/2 cup of simple syrup going in there. This one calls for the apple pie syrup, of course, because it's our spiced apple punch. And just measure that right in. Maybe I could have not used the syrup spout, but that's okay. I'm very exact with my 1/2 ounce. You can always go sweeter or less sweet though. So like any recipe for cocktails, this is still open to your own interpretation, but my recipe is a really great place to start and then adjust at the end after you've tasted everything together. We're gonna do 8 dashes next of the citrus bitters. These are by Bitter Housewife, another small batch maker in Portland. And finally, I'm doing my last ingredient. Is gonna be my most expensive, my bourbon, because imagine that you measured wrong and you had to redo your whole punch. You're probably out quite a bit of bourbon, so we don't want that. So I'm gonna use 4 cups of bourbon, which might be more than a bottle. So you might need more than 1 bottle if you only have a 1/2 bottle left like I do here. And we're just gonna measure that right into the punch bowl next. Now, what type of liquor you use matters. And what I would say is don't use the most expensive thing on your shelf, but don't use the cheapest thing on your shelf either. A mid-shelf bourbon is gonna be a great option for this. This one is by Heritage Distilling and it comes in about 35 bucks, which is, budget friendly for the holidays to be able to make this big of a thing of cocktails. You also don't want to use your most expensive stuff because we're adding so much else deliciousness to this that it's not the place for the bourbon to show off all of its super unique characteristics, right? Assistant, please. Thank you. So you're gonna want to use something mid-shelf in the bourbon here. You can also use whiskey if you prefer maybe like a Canadian whiskey or a blended whiskey, that's totally fine. Bourbon is going to be the smoothest and sweetest, and so it's gonna kind of just, you know, sit in the background of the punch versus having a lot of perspective in it. If you use something more bold or smoky, you will taste that difference. 4 cups feels like a lot, so consider that you're adding quite a bit of other stuff as well to the punch. And once it's finished, it's gonna be nice and diluted and taste great. But punches are pretty boozy, and that's why punch cups are so small. So if you don't have a punch bowl set like this, you might consider making sure that your cups are very tiny, way smaller than you think they should be. Big cups by a boozy punch bowl is gonna lead to a really fun party, and people might need a ride home. 1.5 cups of water is gonna dilute it. You can leave it flat. I like to add a little bit of bubbles. I think the seltzer and the effervescence in the punch really makes it taste great. But if you don't love that, you can just do water here instead. Excuse me, ice. I'm just gonna mix up what I've added in there. And you are ready to serve. So my ice was slightly too large. I've got it in at a jaunty angle, and I think it looks cute. You can do that, or you could, if I flipped it over, a bundt pan flipped over fits almost like perfectly into this punch bowl, but I like to have the design on top, so either way you can go. You're gonna serve up your punch in nice tiny cups, and do garnish. Always fun to have a little garnish in your cup here. I've got cinnamon sticks that they can use as stir sticks. You could also do, you know, a little rosemary sprig to make it look like a Christmas tree, or a citrus wheel from your garnish packs that came with your punch pack, up to you. Cheers, and I hope you enjoy your punch. Oh yeah, that's a good party. Enjoy!